I'd never shown up to her office events before. Not once. It wasn't some hard rule, just an unspoken thing between us. Jenny liked to keep her work life separate, and honestly, I didn't mind. I figured, let her have that world. The presentations, the networking, the endless inside jokes with coworkers I didn't know and probably wouldn't care for. Besides, she always came home smiling, full of stories about the team, and inside jokes I'd pretend to laugh at, just to keep things light. But that night was different. I had finished my meetings early. I was downtown already, maybe 10 blocks from her building, and for some reason, maybe instinct, maybe boredom, I stopped by the liquor store and picked up a nice bottle of wine. Something bold, not too flashy. Figured I'd swing by the office mixer she mentioned, say hi to a few people, drop off the wine as a surprise. Harmless, thoughtful, husband stuff. When I pulled into the parking lot, it was nearly empty. Maybe 4 or 5 cars scattered across the rows. Her building was one of those glass and steel setups, all windows and perfect landscaping. Usually quiet after hours. The kind of place where people disappear into elevators with coffee cups and keycards and don't emerge again until morning. And then I saw them. At first I only recognized her. Jenny, stepping out of a sleek black SUV, laughing at something, her head tilted back in a way that used to make my chest feel full. She was wearing her tan coat, the one with the belt she always cinched tight around her waist. Hair done, heels clicking against the pavement. She looked good. Too good. Then he got out of the passenger side, or maybe the driver's, I don't even know anymore, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. Tom. The just a friend from college. The he's married, calm down guy. The one she claimed only messaged her when something came up at work. The one she swore I had nothing to worry about. We barely talk, she once said, laughing like I was being paranoid. He's more like a LinkedIn notification than a real person. Except now his hand was on her waist, his fingers pressing into the small of her back like he owned it. She didn't flinch. She didn't move away. She leaned into him. They stood there, close, her hand grazing his chest for a moment before brushing her hair back. That same reflexive move she'd done on our first date, and 1,000 times since. I froze. I didn't know whether to honk or just leave. But then, like some invisible director yelled, "Cut." They separated. She turned toward the building, heels tapping against the concrete as she walked inside, looking calm, composed, like nothing had happened. He slipped back into the SUV and pulled away like it was the most normal thing in the world. I didn't move for a full minute, just sat there behind the wheel with the bottle of wine on the passenger seat, staring at the reflection of my own face in the windshield. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. I was stunned. Not even surprised, just numb. Because as much as I wanted to deny it, deep down, something in me had been waiting for this moment. For proof. For confirmation that I wasn't crazy. That the gut feeling I'd been ignoring for months was real. Eventually, I drove off. Didn't go inside. Didn't text her. Didn't even open the bottle. At home that night, we ate dinner like normal. I didn't mention what I saw. I wasn't ready to see her lie to me. But curiosity, no, let's call it what it was, suspicion, got the better of me. So I asked casually, while she was rinsing her plate, "Hey, who gave you a ride from the party? Your car wasn't in the lot." She didn't pause, didn't turn around, just kept washing the dish like it was the easiest question in the world. "Oh," she said, "just a corporate driver. One of those rotating chauffeur services for events. I think the company hires them for tax write-offs or something." No hesitation, no awkward laugh. Her voice didn't even wobble. If I hadn't seen her with my own eyes, I would have believed her. She didn't blink, didn't even fumble for the right words. It was a performance so smooth, so practiced, that I knew it couldn't have been the first time. That was the moment everything in me shifted. It wasn't just what she said. It was how she said it, calm, almost bored, like someone reciting a recipe they'd memorized. And suddenly, all the little things I'd shrugged off started playing back in my mind like flashbacks from a movie I didn't know I was in. She was lying. Not clumsily, not nervously. She was lying like someone who had done it before and gotten away with it. I looked at her that night, really looked, and realized I didn't know her face as well as I thought I did. Or maybe I knew it too well, and I was just now seeing what it looked like when it wasn't telling the truth. The thing is, when someone lies badly, you catch it in their eyes. A stutter, a twitch, a misplaced smile. But when someone lies well, it's scarier. Because they sound exactly the same as they always have. They smile at the right moments. Their tone is even, their hands don't shake. They make you question your own sanity. That's what messed me up the most. Not just that she lied, but that she did it so naturally, so effortlessly. It made me wonder how many other things I'd missed. Later that night, after she fell asleep, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the ceiling for hours. I could hear her breathing next to me, peaceful, like she hadn't just erased something between us. The bottle of wine was still unopened in the kitchen. I couldn't bring myself to touch it. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but I knew this much. Something had shifted, and there was no going back to the way things were before I saw her in that parking lot. Before the lie. You can't unsee someone being who they really are when they think no one's watching. After that night in the parking lot, something in me cracked. Not loudly, not all at once, but like hairline fractures spidering out beneath the surface. I didn't confront Jenny. Not then. I didn't storm in or throw accusations or demand answers. Instead, I did what people do when they're still hoping they're wrong. I watched, quietly, closely. And the more I watched, the worse it got. Looking back, it's almost funny how blind I'd been to the signs. I had explained so much away under the umbrella of trust or love or just not wanting to be that guy. The paranoid one, the insecure one. I told myself, she deserves her independence, you're overthinking, it's just a phase. But once you see the crack, you can't unsee it. And suddenly, everything starts to look like a clue. It started with her new routine. For years, Jenny worked from home. She had her little office in the corner of the apartment, always lit up by a ring light and the soft glow of her laptop. She used to say she liked working in pajamas, with our cat on her lap and music playing in the background. Then, one day, she announced she'd be working from a co-working space instead. Something about needing a change of scenery and fewer distractions. At first, I didn't think much of it. It sounded reasonable. Our upstairs neighbors had recently taken to vacuuming at odd hours, and the laundry machine had started wheezing like it was on its last breath. Plus, she'd always been more productive outside the house. That's what she said, anyway. But it wasn't just where she was going. It was how she was leaving. She used to throw on a hoodie and leggings to sit on Zoom calls. Now she was putting together full outfits. Styled hair, subtle perfume, lips with just a hint of color, those ankle boots she usually saved for weekends. Her laptop bag looked like it had been polished. She even started wearing earrings again. Small, gold ones I'd given her 2 birthdays ago. The ones she used to say felt too fancy for daily wear. I made a joke about it once. Something like, "You sure you're working? Or moonlighting as a fashion blogger?" She smiled, tilted her head like she always did when she thought I was being silly. "I just like feeling put together," she said. "It makes me focus better." Then she kissed me on the cheek and left. But after a while, it wasn't just about her dressing up. It was how careful she became, how guarded. Her phone was always with her. Always. Not just in the same room on her person. Even when she showered, it came with her. Even when she was folding laundry, it was tucked in her back pocket. Before, she'd leave it charging on the kitchen counter, buzzing with random notifications we both ignored. She didn't care if I saw it. She'd even ask me to reply to texts sometimes. "Tell Maya I'll be late." Or, "Can you RSVP to that invite from Sarah?" Now, if it buzzed, she was on it instantly. Not panicked, just alert, like she didn't want me to get there first. And then came the disappearances. Not literal, not in the gone for days kind of way, but subtle, gradual. Our shared photo album on the cloud? Empty. I noticed it when I went to upload a picture from our last hike, the one we took a month before the parking lot incident. All the albums were gone. I thought maybe it was a sync issue, so I asked her. She looked up from her screen and said, "Weird, must have glitched. I'll fix it later." She never did. Same with the playlists we'd built together. Our road trip mix. The one for rainy Sundays. The one we used to dance to while cooking. All gone. And when I checked the shared calendar we kept, the one where we marked down birthdays, movie nights, long weekends, it was blank. Not even her work deadlines were there anymore. Each time I brought it up, she shrugged it off. Yeah, I've been meaning to update it. Or, maybe we should just start fresh, you know? Her answers were always casual. Always practiced. But that's the thing about lies, the more effortless they become, the harder they are to ignore. Even her mood changed. Some days she'd come home glowing, humming, acting like everything was perfect. She'd kiss me twice instead of once. Call me babe like she used to. Ask if I wanted Thai food, my favorite. Other days she was distant, quiet. Not cold exactly, just elsewhere. Like part of her was still stuck in whatever place she'd been during the day. I'd ask how work went, and she'd mumble something vague. Fine. Busy. Same old. And then go scroll her phone in bed until midnight. It wasn't the behavior itself that scared me. It was the inconsistency, the false normalcy, the sudden bursts of affection, timed too perfectly, the smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes. The way she said, I love you, sometimes like it was punctuation. A reflex, like she was trying to make sure the rhythm stayed intact, even if the music had changed. The worst part? I started doubting myself. There were moments when I'd stare at her across the dinner table and think, maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I'm being paranoid. I'd beat myself up for not trusting her, for letting suspicion live rent-free in my mind. I'd remember all the good things. The vacations, the inside jokes, the nights we stayed up late making plans for a life we hadn't finished building. But then I'd remember the SUV, the waist touch, the lie about the corporate driver, and the doubt would return stronger than before. One night, I woke up to use the bathroom and saw her sitting on the edge of the bed in the dark, holding her phone. The screen lit up her face in this pale, unnatural glow. She was texting someone. I didn't ask who. Just stood there watching her thumbs move. After a second, she noticed me and turned the phone over, hiding the screen. You okay? I asked. Yeah, she said, a little too fast. Couldn't sleep. You were texting. She hesitated. Just Maya. She's going through something. I nodded, but I didn't believe her. A week later, she started sleeping with her phone on silent, face down. It's strange. You think that when someone betrays you, it'll feel like a thunderclap. Obvious, loud, explosive. But in reality, it's more like a slow leak. Quiet, insidious. You don't notice the water at first. Not until you're ankle deep, wondering how it got that far without anyone seeing. I still wasn't ready to confront her. Still wanted to believe there was some other explanation. But deep down, I was already mourning something I couldn't name. A marriage that still looked alive, but didn't feel like it anymore. I wasn't looking for proof that night. Not consciously, anyway. I wasn't digging, wasn't snooping. At least that's what I told myself. I needed to print a contract for work, and our printer was being temperamental again. Jenny had this old iPad tucked away in the junk drawer. Hadn't used it in months, maybe longer. I figured I could email the doc to myself and print from there. Seemed simple enough. It wasn't locked. Or maybe it was once, but the password hadn't changed. Her birthday. I remember thinking it was funny how she never bothered to update it, even though she always accused me of using weak passwords. When it powered on, I expected the usual startup lag, old apps, maybe a few emails from 5 years ago. But what I didn't expect, what made my thumb hesitate over the screen, was that she was still logged into her email. The inbox loaded slowly. Outdated mail system. Nothing too suspicious at first. Just promotional junk, newsletters from fitness brands, automated work messages. And then I saw it. Subject line. Last night was magical. Sender, Tom. My heart didn't drop. That came later. First came the heat. Rising from my neck to my ears, like a wave of nausea paired with a sudden adrenaline spike. That feeling you get when you're about to be in a car crash, but the car hasn't hit yet. I tapped. The message wasn't long, just a couple of lines. but they were enough to crack something open in me. I still smell you on my shirt. Can't stop thinking about your laugh. I don't care what anyone says. I only feel like myself when I'm with you. Below it, a photo. At first, it seemed harmless. Jenny, smiling, curled up in bed, holding her coffee mug. My coffee mug, the one I gave her for our 3rd anniversary. Blue ceramic, slightly chipped at the rim. I recognized the sheets, too. Our bedroom. Our home. My side of the bed. She wore one of my t-shirts. The caption below the photo read, "Still warm from this morning." There were more. I scrolled down and saw them. A string of messages, photos, notes. Some playful, some int asterisk mate, some plain heartbreaking. There was a mirror selfie where her reflection was slightly off-center. And in the background, through the faint glare of glass, I saw a figure. Male. Shirtless. Holding a phone. It was him. Tom. In my home. In my life. Like it was his. It hit me all at once. The timeline, the lies, the cold rehearsed smiles. This wasn't a one-off mistake or a drunken lapse in judgment. This wasn't emotional confusion. This was a fully built reality parallel to mine. A relationship layered in secrecy and cemented with time. They didn't just sneak around. They nested in it. Grew roots. I felt sick. But I kept scrolling. Saturday's still on, right? I keep replaying the way you looked at me when the elevator door closed. You deserve better than pretending. Pretending. That word stayed with me. I didn't react right away. Didn't throw the iPad. Didn't scream. Didn't march upstairs and wake her up. I just sat there at the kitchen table, screen glowing in the dark, the cursor blinking at the bottom of that thread like it was daring me to respond. I should have felt rage. Maybe I did. But it was buried under a kind of numb awe, like I was watching my life through a glass wall. I could see everything clearly, but I couldn't feel it. Not fully. I printed everything. 9 pages in total, *TS, emails, timestamps. I didn't cherry pick. I didn't highlight or annotate. I just pressed print, and one by one, the pages slid out like a funeral procession for my marriage. When it was done, I sat there with the stack in front of me. I didn't touch it at first. Just looked at it, as if the paper might suddenly burst into flames and disappear, giving me an excuse to pretend I hadn't seen any of it. But it didn't. It just sat there, heavy with everything I didn't want to believe. That night I didn't sleep. Jenny was upstairs, curled up like nothing had changed. Maybe for her, nothing had. Maybe she'd already grieved what we had. Maybe she'd replaced it so seamlessly with something new that I was just a placeholder, a familiar shadow she returned to between moments that actually mattered. I wanted to wake her up, demand answers, watch her stammer and scramble, watch the truth crash into her. But I didn't, because I wasn't ready to hear her twist it. I didn't want to hear it didn't mean anything, or we were just talking, or it was a mistake. I didn't want to give her the chance to soften the blow. Not for me, but for herself. I didn't want to see her face flicker into some performance of guilt or shame or apology. Because none of that would have been for me. It would have been for her. So I just sat there, all night, the iPad screen dark beside me, the printed pages stacked like a verdict. Every once in a while, I'd hear her shift upstairs. A creak in the floorboards. A cough. The soft jingle of the cat jumping onto the bed. She didn't know. Not yet. But something in me had already left. Around 5 a.m. I got up and poured myself a glass of water. The kitchen felt colder than usual. Maybe it was just me. Maybe everything feels colder when you realize the person you love isn't really yours anymore. Hasn't been for a while. I walked into the living room, stared at the framed photo of us on the shelf. Some random vacation, I couldn't even remember where. Somewhere with water. Her arms around me. My smile was real. So was hers, maybe. But that version of us didn't exist anymore. Maybe it never did. And that's what gutted me the most. Not just the cheating. Not just Tom. Not even the lies. It was the realization that while I was building a life with her, moments, traditions, futures, she was building something else entirely. One where I wasn't included. I was the echo, the background noise, And somehow she made it look easy. I didn't cry. Not then, not the next morning. Not even when I saw her brush her teeth like nothing had happened. I was done with crying. That part of me felt burned out, scorched in the quiet furnace of realization. Something else had taken its place. Something colder. Not hatred. Not even revenge. It was resolve. I woke up before her, still in the same clothes from the night before, head pounding like I hadn't slept, because I hadn't. The sky outside was that pale, pre-dawn blue, and the house was silent in a way that felt more like vacuum than peace. I stood there in the hallway for a moment, just watching the light shift on the walls. And then I started. First, I opened the hall closet and pulled out her suitcases. The big one with the hard shell. The smaller one we used on road trips. I laid them on the floor and unzipped them slowly, not out of hesitation, but precision. I wasn't rushing this. There wasn't going to be any shouting, no dramatic scenes, no middle-of-the-night confrontations. If she was going to treat this like a clean cut, then I'd make it surgical. I started with the obvious. Her essentials, the things I knew she'd look for first. The coat she got on that trip to New York. The one she refused to wear in the rain because it was too special. Her favorite boots. The French perfume she kept hidden in a drawer, so I wouldn't accidentally use it as air freshener. Her skincare stuff, her chargers, her notebooks. I left out everything else. No photos. No letters. No gifts I'd given her. No keepsakes. Just the things she'd miss. The things that actually mattered to her now. The pieces of her present, not the fragments of our past. Then I went digital. Changed the lock codes to the house, the garage, the Wi-Fi. Reset the banking app. Revoked her access to our shared savings account. Not out of spite. Just necessity. The same way you seal off a room when there's smoke coming through the walls. Clean air only. Our streaming subscriptions gone. I changed the passwords to everything we used to share. Spotify, Netflix, the cloud storage we used to back up our photos. I didn't delete anything. Just closed the doors. She'd built a separate life. Now she could live in it. Next, I walked into the kitchen and made coffee. Not because I needed it, my stomach was too twisted to eat or drink, but because I wanted to feel something normal. The smell. The ritual. The brief illusion of stability. While it brewed, I took the stack of emails I'd printed and slid them into a manila envelope. 9 pages. Nothing more. I didn't write notes in the margins. Didn't circle dates or underline key phrases. I didn't need to. It spoke for itself. On top of the envelope, I placed a single sheet of paper. No salutation. No goodbye. Just a typed line. I know. This is not a conversation. This is a conclusion. Don't look for me. Your things are by the door. I left it on her pillow. She was still asleep when I set it down. Her face was turned toward the wall, hair draped across her cheek, like some snapsh asterisk T of peace. And for a split second, I swear just a second, I felt something twist in my chest. I remembered the way she used to sleep like that next to me. The way we used to tangle legs. The way she'd mumble random phrases in her sleep and then laugh when I'd tell her about it the next morning. But then I saw the reflection in the glass door again, that image of Tom, blurred but undeniable, and the feeling vanished. By the time she woke up, everything was in place. Her bags were lined up by the front door. The coffee was still warm on the counter. The envelope sat quietly on her side of the bed. I didn't leave her a note in my handwriting. She didn't deserve anything personal. Not anymore. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she finally came down the stairs. She was wearing one of my old hoodies, the gray one she used to steal when it was cold. Hair still messy from sleep, barefoot. First, she didn't say anything, just stared at the bags. Then her eyes flicked to me. I could see her calculating fast, trying to understand what she was looking at, trying to pretend she didn't already know. She walked over to the table, slower than usual, picked up the envelope and opened it. Her fingers barely trembled. I'll give her that. She read through the stack without looking up. No gasps, no tears, no denial, just silence. And I didn't say a word. I didn't ask her why. I didn't demand confessions. I didn't want a performance. The truth was already in my hands. I'd seen it. I printed it. I had lived it. After a few minutes, she set the envelope down. Her eyes were red, but dry. "I didn't mean," she started. I raised a hand. Not angry, just finished. She stopped. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard in that house. Louder than the arguments we never had. Louder than the moments she used to fill with fake affection. It was the sound of ending. She stood there for a long time, maybe waiting for me to break, to crack, to say something. But I didn't, because I had nothing left to offer her. Not explanations, not forgiveness, not rage. Eventually, she picked up her coat, the special one, and sat on the bench to pull on her boots. She didn't cry. She didn't plead. She didn't slam the door. She just left. And when the door clicked shut behind her, I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Not relief, not grief, just air. She didn't post anything that first day, or the second. She went quiet, vanished off social media completely. No updates, no stories, no comments. It was almost impressive, like she knew better than to speak too soon, like she was waiting for the right moment to recast herself in a softer light. And then, right on schedule, 3 days later, there it was. A photo, muted tones, cup of tea, a blurry sunrise through a half-open window, her legs tucked under a blanket that looked suspiciously like the one from our couch, captioned with just enough mystery and melancholy to invite sympathy without specifics. Learning to breathe again. Boundaries. Clarity. Healing. I stared at it for a long time, not because I missed her, but because it was such a clean pivot. Like she had rehearsed it. Like she had been waiting not to apologize but to reframe, to retell. And judging by the comments, it worked. "You're so strong. You deserve peace. Growth is never easy, but you're doing it. Let them go if they no longer water your garden." Garden metaphors. Self-love slogans. A curated wave of support from people who had no clue what actually happened. From people who saw a filtered photo and assumed it told the whole story. I recognized a few names. Mutual friends, old co-workers, distant cousins. All flooding in with affirmations as if she were the victim of some vague emotional oppression. Not one mention of what she'd done. Not one whisper of the truth. And why would there be? She didn't say, "I cheated." She didn't say, "I lied for months." She didn't say, "I built an entire second life while sleeping in the bed we bought together." No, that wouldn't fit the aesthetic. That wouldn't fit the arc. Instead, she framed it as a breakup born from emotional evolution. She'd outgrown the relationship. She needed space to rediscover herself. It was time to let go of old patterns. I didn't reply. I didn't comment. I didn't text. I just watched, detached, as her new image took shape, one careful post at a time. What got me wasn't just the performance. It was the fact that, to the outside world, it worked. People bought it. Because they always do. Because it's easier to believe a poetic caption than an ugly truth. It's easier to offer comfort to the person who got there first. The one who posts first, who cries first, who wraps themselves in soft language and talks about the pain of letting go while never once admitting why they had to. I saw one comment that stopped me cold. "She always put him first. I'm glad she's finally choosing herself." Put me first? That line bounced around in my skull for hours. Days maybe. Because if you asked me, if you asked anyone who actually knew the inside of our marriage, I was the one who made space. Who waited. Who listened. Who compromised. Who trusted. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't erase someone from our shared playlists, our photo albums, our future. I didn't rewrite history in a cozy caption for validation. But none of that mattered now. Not to the people reading her story. And then came the second post, a video this time. A montage. Black and white clips of raindrops on glass. Pages of a journal flipping slowly. The soft strum of an acoustic guitar playing underneath. A voiceover, hers, whispering lines from a poem. And sometimes we have to walk away from what we thought was love. To remember how to love ourselves. Could have laughed. Instead, I just closed the app. But it didn't stop there. Mutual friends started reaching out in that polite, indirect way people do when they want to know something without asking outright. Hey, just checking in. How are you holding up? Didn't want to intrude, but I saw Jenny's post. Everything okay? I heard you guys split. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Some of them meant it. Others were just fishing. One friend, a real one, someone who knew both of us, sent me a *T, a comment under her latest post that had since been deleted. Didn't she step out of that black SUV with a guy at her office party? Looked more than friendly. It had a couple of likes before it vanished. I didn't know who posted it. I didn't care. But for a moment, I let myself imagine what it must have felt like for her. Seeing the illusion start to crack. Seeing that maybe not everyone was going to play along. That someone somewhere remembered. That not everyone was willing to let her rewrite the ending. The post disappeared within the hour. Replaced by another one the next day. Softer, more deflective. Sometimes people grow apart. It doesn't mean anyone's to blame. It just means we're human. She was painting over the mess. And doing it well. I'll give her credit. She was good at this. At spinning betrayal into transformation. At turning deceit into self-care. At making her audience forget that someone else had to bleed so she could heal. But the most infuriating part? She didn't name me once. Not in the captions. Not in the comments. Not in the tags. I wasn't even a ghost. I was air. Gone. Erased. Replaced with gentle language and clean lighting and sentences that sounded like they came from a podcast on boundaries. I wasn't the husband who made her coffee every morning. Or the man who held her during panic attacks. Or the guy who surprised her with plane tickets that time she said she felt stuck. No. I was now the person she grew away from. The unnamed abstract ex. The shadow character in her solo comeback narrative. And the worst part? People loved her for it. They cheered her on. They reposted her video. Some even DM'd me, not with support but with condescension. Just let her be. She's healing. She seems like she's really working on herself. Maybe don't make it harder. Harder? I hadn't said a word. I hadn't posted anything. I hadn't exposed the emails or the photos or the timelines. I hadn't shown the receipts. Hadn't countered her carefully filtered story with the truth. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't want to live in that version of the story, hers or mine. What I wanted was silence. Stillness. Distance. Not for her. For me. Because while she was out there rebranding, I was just trying to survive. People started asking questions, but always in coded language. You okay? Heard Jenny's finding herself. They didn't know. Not really. She painted herself as the brave one, the healer. I became the ghost in her story, the silent villain she never named. I didn't fight back publicly. No rants, no receipts. I let her build her version. Quietly, I rebuilt mine. Not for pity. For peace. Weeks passed. Then a text. Can we talk? I agreed to meet neutral ground. She looked older. Tired. Regretful, maybe. I slid the envelope across the table. No speech. No yelling. Just silence. She read. Said nothing. I stood, paid for the coffee, and left. She didn't follow. I didn't turn back. No revenge. No drama. Just the end. I changed my number. Moved on. She became what she chose to be. The past.